Hey guys, Susan Thomas here, and today we're going to talk headpins for beginners and beyond. So today we're going to be talking headpins, and I'm going to explain to you what headpins are first. Then we're going to talk how you can use headpins from the most basic use of a headpin all the way into some more complicated, interesting, intricate uses of headpins. Basically, headpins make jewelry. So you guys are going to love this. I've got lots and lots of things in front of me, so I hope you have a little bit of time to spend with me this afternoon. First of all, you're going to need some headpins, but you're also going to need some basic tools. I have a couple one-step loopers, very basic tool that just loops the wire for you. I also have a basic flush cutter with me today. Definitely need that. And then I have a looping plier because headpins are made out of wire, so we're going to be using our looping plier. And then I have a basic chain nose plier to open and close loops and squish things together. So I showed you how to make an ear wire, but did you ever think about taking a headpin and making it into the entire earring? I know, right? That's pretty cool. So I love the heart-shaped headpins for doing this because if you really, really love the bead that you're working with and you really want to show it off, you can use the heart-shaped headpin to do that with. So you can see I love this bead. It's big, it's bold, it's fun. I don't want a lot of craziness in my ears. Maybe I want to wear something light, but I really want a big, bold look in my bead, so I'm going to use that bead. So there's my heart on the end. All you need to do is make sure that your heart is facing straight up and down, and then bend that or flip that headpin up right behind the bead so it holds it in place. See how it's kind of holding it in place there? It's good if you've got a symmetrical type bead, so it doesn't matter if it twists. So the next step is to either take that ballpoint pen or your looping plier, and I usually use the second level on this one, the second size, and then just bend it over the plier like so, and voila! That's an earring, right? Yeah, I mean, did you ever think? Now, if you have a headpin that's a little bit softer, like if this feels like it's a little soft, what you can do is you can take a hammer and a bench block, and you can put that onto your bench block and just lightly hammer it, and that will work harden the wire, so it'll keep that curve, so you don't have to worry about it. But those are cute little earrings, and all you needed was one bead and one headpin. I always say headpins make things happen. I know, I'm terrible with the alliterations. I can't help it. But okay, let's keep going. So this pair of earrings is one of my absolute favorite pairs of earrings. But these beads are Baroque pearls, and they have got small holes in them. And my 20 gauge headpins do not fit through. So what am I gonna do? And also, see all that wire on the top right there? Isn't that cool? Well, I can't do that with a little short headpin. So I've got two ways to show you how to do this. I'm gonna make a headpin. So this is two different ways to do this, and I'll show you both. I've got two pearls here. One, I have actually wrapped the top in this really cool little coil. See that? Really, this is a neat, pretty design. And this one here, I've actually done what's called a bird's nest wrap, which is a little messier and a little more boho looking. So it looks great with my leather. Okay, so I'll put those to the side and show you guys how to do the wraps. So what I'm going to do is take my 20 gauge wire. I promised you we'd use some wire today. So I'll pull some of this out, and I'm going to give myself about a foot of wire to work with. So make sure you got a good flush cutter, cut that off. And then I'm going to take, you can either use a tweezer nose plier or a chain nose plier. I prefer the tweezer nose. I don't have them here. I just have a basic chain nose. So just use this. And most people, if you're just getting started making jewelry, I'm going to tell you right now. 3 tools: round nose, chain nose, flush cutter. Those are the tools you need. You don't need any of the other ones if you're just getting started. I can show you how to do most anything if you've got those 3 tools. So here's my chain nose. You'll see me pick this up all the time. You just grab the very end of that wire and you bend it into a little crook, kind of like we did with the headpin. So see, it's almost like a little J down at the bottom. I know it's tiny. I wanted it to be tiny. but it's gonna hold that bead on. And then you just kind of squeeze this into a little loop. Actually, a squished loop. We'll call it a squished loop. I can't think of a better name for it right now, so that's what we're gonna call it. Okay, now I'm going to put my bead on there. I'm gonna pick the one with the roundiest end because I'm gonna do the little coil for you first. So just pop that on there, and that 24 gauge wire fit through there just perfect. And see how that kind of holds it on there, just like a head pin would. So I've essentially now made my own head pin. If you want to, you can squish that little end to one side or the other to make it less obtrusive or less obvious, up to you. Now, I think I've got a little bit more wire than I need for this particular one. I'll need that much for the other one, but I'm gonna clip that off just so it's out of the way. So here we are, I just bent the wire off to the side right above the top of the bead. And then I'm gonna take my round nose plier and I'm going to roll this into a half circle and then all the way into a loop right above the top of the bead. Grab it with the chain nose plier, and now here's where magic happens. Okay, what I'm about to do is this. See that coil on the top? Isn't that cool? It's really pretty, right? It looks like I've put a bead cap on top of the bead, but I didn't. All I did was take my wire and I start wrapping. Now, if you want this to be pretty, you want to pull the wire down towards the bead and make sure you pick a bead that has kind of a nice rounded top on it because it'll work better. So a round bead is perfect for this technique. So I'm just gonna keep wrapping and pulling, and I'll show you what's happening. See how that's kind of capping off that bead right there? And just keep wrapping and pulling down towards the bead until you've got as big of a cap as you want. Like so. Isn't that pretty? I think it's pretty. It's very dramatic. It looks really good on this style earring. So if you're going for drama and you really want to show off your chops, do that. Makes a huge difference. So that's one idea. Now the other idea, if you're making your own head pins, is this bird's nest wrap here. So I'm just gonna take another little piece of wire. I don't think I got quite enough on that one. I'm gonna go a little longer on this one because I really like to make a big bird's nest. And let's push that out. And this is just 24 gauge wire, guys. It's right at about a 1/2 millimeter. It's a good basic size wire for you to start with if you're thinking, oh, I don't know what wire to get. 20 and 24 gauge are the two that I would always recommend for you to start with. Okay, so take this one, it's the exact same thing. I'm just gonna take the end, grab it with my chain nose plier, bring that into a little J, and then squeeze it down close. So I've made my little head pins, just a little crook to hold on to the bead. Then take my pearl. Aren't these cool pearls? These are Baroque pearls. I love them. And pull that down to the bottom, like so. Now on this one, I'm going to use my round nose plier and I'm gonna give myself a little bit of space because I need a little bit of space for that bird's nest. So I'm using my round nose plier to give myself some space above there, almost using it like a spacer before I bend my wire to the side. So you can see that a lot of the techniques are the same. Bend it to the side, roll it into a loop. So now I'm gonna roll into the loop. There's my half circle. I'll hold still there so you guys can see that first before I do it. Then I'm going to put my plier back in there and roll it all the way down and around, making that loop. But you can see I've got a little space there. That's the space for my bird's nest or my messy wrap. So re-grasp the loop. The reason you re-grasp the loop with the chain nose plier is because if you do not, it will go crazy and it will not be a loop when you're done. So make sure you do that part. Now I'm just gonna start wrapping. And you do not have to do anything special here. You don't have to try to make it pretty. You just kind of want to just keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping and let them overlap and go crazy all over each other until you feel like you've got a big enough bird's nest. Super easy. If you never learn how to make a pretty wrap, always make a bird's nest or a messy wrap. Why not? It looks fantastic. So then you just make sure you end down next to the pearl or the bead that you're working on because it's hard to hide a little cut end unless you have a space to put it. So I always end down next to the bead, clip off the extra wire, and take my chain nose plier right here and then just kind of squish it in. It's the easiest place to squish it. There you go. The next thing I want to show you guys, so we basically have exhausted as many possibilities as I could think of to make earrings with our head pins. So I kind of want you guys to know that I use head pins for just about everything. If you put me in a room with a few head pins and some beads, I would find a way to make a lot of different jewelry, not just earrings. They're just great to work with. So I like to use them as cold connections. Let me show you what I mean. I'll bring this in here. Got my pliers in the way. All right. So I've got a couple different ways to show you how to make cold connections. So this is a little ring, and you can see that I have got this heart-shaped head pin right here at the top. That's holding this, what looks like a braided ring together. See, I've pulled the heart shape through a loop at the top and then finished it off on the side. So that is a cold connection. Then here I've got the exact same thing on this set of bangles. So here they are. This is done with the buff tops. These are just flat wire bangles. That's all they are. But they look cute because it almost looks like a little button at the top of your bangle. Now, if you really want to go nuts, I've actually taken some Swarovski crystals and wrapped some of these bangles. So it's the same exact thing. After I connected it together, I attached these little beads to it, which is a lot of fun. And then here, right here, this is the one, this always really excites me. You can do it on leather. You can do the same thing on leather. I could have used a head pin to finish it, or you can actually use a handmade head pin like I showed you before with a bead on the top to finish it off. So many things to do with head pins. So let me show you how to do that. Here I have this, and I'll just do it on the bangle because that's kind of the easiest, I think the easiest one to understand when you're just getting started. This is flat wire. You can find it anywhere. We often have it here at Jewel School for you guys to purchase, and it's right at about 5 millimeters thick, so it makes a perfect bangle. So why not? You could make a ring out of it too. So all I've done is hole punch the ends. You do the exact same thing if it was a piece of flat leather. You do the exact same thing if it was a piece of braided wire. But with the flat wire, all you do is punch the ends, then you take that handy little head pin. See that guy right there? I'm gonna use the buff top because I think really they're cute. And then you push it through both holes. So you're basically stacking your wire together. And then pull it in. And I like to wrap it on the side where the cut end is because it kind of fills in that space. So I'm gonna put my thumb right on there so it's really, really tight. And then take this wire, see it kind of covers up that little cut, and wrap it 1, 2, 3 times, like so. And it finished the bangle for me. That's pretty impressive. That is a superior tool that you cannot live without. You gotta have head pins. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do now. I'm just gonna clip off that extra wire, and you can go one more time around if you want to. I like the look of 3, so that's where I'm gonna go. I always clip off my wire underneath, right at the very edge, with my flush cutter, and then take my chain nose plier and squish that baby in so that you can't feel it on. And then I always go like this to make sure I can't feel it. Nope, can't feel it. So there, cute. Now I have a cute little bangle that I can add and wear. Ta-da. So, lots of fun. So much fun, so little time. Now this design, this is one more thing I want to show you. This was done by my friend Katie Smith. And I thought it was such a great example of this head pin technique that I brought it down here. She doesn't know I have it. Anyway, but you can do this with any beads. It looks good with big beads, small beads, medium beads, different beads. It's just kind of a fun technique. And it's hard to believe that this part right here is all done with head pins. I know, right? So take a look at that, really pretty. Wouldn't that be a pretty like wedding design right there if you did it with pearls? I think so too. These are those little head pins I showed you earlier, the little ball end head pins that I just love so much. So I've got myself some crystals here, and I'm gonna use them to show you guys how to make that little technique right there and change it up. All right, so the first step is just obviously take a head pin, decide on your length that you want to make your head pins, and make a loop at one end with either a one-step looper or your round nose plier. So I showed you how to do that before. Just leave a little length so you have some drama. Now, the next thing you want to do, and this is very important, you have to make sure that your next head pin, you actually put the bead on the head pin, like so. Once you put the bead on, then you've got the loop on the other side. You put the end of the head pin through the loop. See what's happening there? And then you take your one-step looper, you come on down to the length you want, and you give it a squeeze, make a loop, and you got your second bead. Then I'm gonna grab another one, put this through the loop, put the bead on first, don't forget about the bead. Then go through your loop, like so, and take your one-step looper. The thing that's the most important, I think, is making sure that your beads are right about, or your head pins are right about the same length, and that your loops are right about the same size. All right, let me get the next one and go through. Grab the right size looper, put it on there, and squeeze. Now with a one-step looper, often that little loop you make will be just a little bit open, and it's actually designed to do that because when you connect things with one-step loopers, you always have to open them back up and connect them anyway. So they usually leave you that little space, but you're gonna wanna make sure that you close it up. So next, let's grab another bead here. Let's go with this. Well, you guess I won't use that one because you just fell off. Let's use this one here. So go through that loop and grab your looper, pop it through, get the length right, eyeball it or do it, and squeeze. And look how cute that is. Isn't that cute? I love it. So what I'm gonna do is make that into a little earring, but like you can see, you can actually take this, let's put this back out here so you can see. You can make an earring out of this, or you can make a full necklace out of it, whatever you love. All you're gonna need to do these little projects that I showed you today are head pins and some beads and then a few tools. So let me walk you through what I used. First of all, I'm gonna remind you that I did use a round nose plier, which I forgot to introduce at the beginning of the show. So there's your round nose plier. And I used a chain nose plier, which looks very similar, but it's flat and smooth on the inside, and a flush cutter. These are your three basic tools. If you guys have these, you can do everything I showed you today. So don't ever feel like you have to have a lot of fancy tools. I did also use my 6-step looping plier, which I personally love and highly recommend. And I showed you how to use a one-step looper. One more thing I want to mention to you guys is that I did actually make a head pin today. I used just some 24 gauge wire to do that. So if you got some of that, you can make your own head pins. If you guys would like to pick up some supplies like the ones I worked with today, check out the links down below. I would love to know how you'd use your head pins. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell, and I'll see you again next time.